Well, guys, let's go ahead and dive in. We got 30 minutes set aside here for this conversation. I've been looking forward to this. Really excited about the conversation we're about to have, guys, with our friends at Level AI. Ashish and I met about a year and a half ago, Ashish, if I recall, right? And started to have just a whole series of conversations about where AI was going next. He's proven to be one of the smartest guys I know in this space, and I always enjoy our conversations, Ashish. And Matt, who recently joined Level AI as the head of global sales. I know he came here for good reason, and is really fired up about how Level AI is really tackling this massive opportunity around artificial intelligence and so forth. Let's just do some quick introductions, then I'll kick it off. Matt, give us the 30-second bio on yourself. Oh, you're muted, Matt. And still no audio for Matt, unfortunately. Matt, why don't you sort that out on your end real quick? Ashish, let's go to you real quick, man. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. So again, Andrew, thanks for your partnership. I'm new to the customer service and contact center space. So I've started this business almost 4 years ago. Before that, though, I spent almost a decade in the AI space in Amazon's Alexa team. And prior to that, I was an early employee in a startup which we sold to Amazon. So have been working in this voice AI and NLP space for almost a decade now. And then at Level AI, I look forward to talking about that, but we bring in that unique viewpoint of how AI is changing and how we think it will continue to change over the next 5 years to the contact center and customer service space to transform CX experience, which is how the CX Effect partnership came about.
Yeah, definitely. Good deal. Well, excellent. I want to dive in. Matt, I know we're troubleshooting an audio issue with you. You're able to hear us? Can we hear you?
Sorry, I'm not sure.
We're not able to hear, unfortunately. So that's okay. Let's keep powering ahead here, guys. I'm curious on just to kind of launch the conversation. We have seen this massive amount of energy behind artificial intelligence, right? What's happening, how it's accelerating, frankly, the noise that it's creating. It's becoming very, very loud out there, and people across all industries are starting to, are pausing and taking notice and asking big questions around what does this mean for my business? What's real? What's not? Everybody on the planet seems to have some sort of solution out there around artificial intelligence, all driven by this energy behind ChatGPT. Ashish, you've been in the space for the last 4 years at Level AI. You have a long history in voice-driven AI with your background with Alexa. I'm curious to get your take. How do you sort through all that noise? How do you make sense of what's real, what's not? What's some advice you'd give to customers out there that might be a bit in the fog right now?
Yeah, so that's a huge question, Andrew. I'll almost say that AI and this idea of the context we are talking about, conversational AI, has been around as a concept for decades, right? What the current noise is about and what the current work is about are what's called large language models, which is the foundational technology behind generative AI or ChatGPT, right? And I feel like over almost about 2 to 3 years ago, we've had this moment in the natural language processing or language AI space with these foundational models, which has brought us into a new era of AI tech in this space. Now, before this, like one analogy which one can think about is before this, we used to have all of us do a task around our house. We used to have a hammer, we used to have a screw, we used to have a different tools for different for different objectives.
Yep.
Now we have this massive Swiss Army knife, which can do a bunch of these things all in one go, which is the large language model. So large language model, you can call it the brain, you can call it a Swiss Army knife. But the cool thing is that often it is able to do any one task, let's say hammering or screwdriving or whatever, better than a pure hammer or a pure screwdriver.
Yeah.
So people are like, holy shit, holy yes, now I have this amazing Swiss Army knife, this amazing brain, which can do so many different things, right? So that has been the noise over the last 2 years about ChatGPT. Just made it more obvious. It is a use case which made it really obvious. One of the things which you and I were talking about, Andrew, before. So ChatGPT is not generative AI. ChatGPT is one product out of it, but from OpenAI. Generative AI is a sort of is a kind of AI technology, but the underlying innovation is what's called large language models. That's the brain. That's the Swiss Army knife.
Yes.
And using that, you could do generative AI, you could do ChatGPT, and so on. I'll pause there. Obviously, we can talk about applications and what it means for businesses in a big way. But that's a quick intro. Yeah.
The super helpful. And that's it. Matt, did we get your audio working, Matt?
Is it working? Or no?
Fantastic.
I had a green mic before, but it wasn't working, so I don't know. I left the stage. I came back. Now I can talk.
Yeah, no worries.
Want me to just give it a quick intro?
No worries. Yeah, do your quick intro, and we'll blend into it.
Go for it. Sure. Well, hey, thanks for everyone for joining, Andrew. Thanks for having Ashish and me, first of all. So my name's Matt Peloso. I lead our sales organization here. Formerly, before IT, I was in customer service at Cintas in many different roles for 10 years. Went over to EMC, then spent 3-4 years at Medallia, so very familiar with CX and really fell in love with the space. Did a stint at a SaaS technology called Big Panda for the last 5 years, running their organization, and came over here. To Ashish's points, right? Like, the things that you all have to deal with is so daunting and challenging, especially now with the volatility in the world today. And, everyone is asked to do more with less. And, when Ashish talks about not just utilizing intent, but using generative AI to help people do their jobs better, to help them spend times on activities that are more value added than manual and redundant tasks. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I came on board, because, when I worked for Medallia, outstanding company. But this is really getting way ahead of surveying and all the other things. And I know they have other options now, but this is like live, real time, omni-channel, being able to make sense of complex languages, accents, different channels coming in, metadata, and giving users like yourself actionable insights that help you do your job better, help your organization. And that's one of the reasons why I came over, because this is an exciting time in the space particularly. And I know, Andrew, for a fact that you definitely see that as well.
Yeah, no question. Well, it's great to have you on this side, Matt, and we're excited for you to be in our ecosystem. Guys, all the buzz about generative AI, ChatGPT, all the large language models. There's also an increasing amount of dare I say angst out there, right? Nervousness. There's tech leaders on Capitol Hill talking about how dangerous the future of AI might be. I'm curious how you address that, because I think there's, for me personally, I'm super excited about the capabilities around this, but there is also part of me that's a little nervous about where this goes next. Is there a way to harness the power and at the same time limit the risk? Ashish, what are your thoughts on that, man?
So I'll say a couple of things, Andrew. One is I could not be more excited about the potential of this moment and how this next set of generative AI technologies will change, especially customer service and contact centers. But my caveat to that is, remember cloud, and you were talking about this. Cloud is an equally obvious move, right? From on-prem to cloud.
Sure.
But it took 20 years almost, and it's still 20, 25, 30% adoption.
Yes.
You know? And so the ROI of that is obvious. The technology is obvious. It makes so much sense. So it's going to take time, number one. Number two, one is the existential risk and the other is security and privacy. I think even in the short term, security and privacy is a huge issue. No large enterprise or medium enterprise wants to send their data to OpenAI or to in a non-secure environment, right? So how do we make this technology secure, private, having the highest level of enterprise credentials for the consumers who are talking to our contact centers and so on? That's a big one. That in the short term, in the medium term, I think that has to be a big focus. On the overall societal risk and angst, I think that's frankly overblown. The more experts I talk to, so the paranoia is inversely proportional to the expertise in the area. And I have, and it's just generally true. And it's also for a lot of people, paranoia helps in fundraising, getting out there and making people don't get clicks on, balanced, level-headed evaluation of a situation. People get clicks on like AI is going to take over the world and run for the mountains,
Yes.
I think security, data privacy risk is really essential. This thing will change significantly, but it's going to take time. But the overall large-scale angst, it's kind of we are far away from that. Yeah. That's
interesting. That's really good. That's really good insight. I tend to agree with that. I think a few months ago, take back to like January, we saw OpenAI, kind of hit the come out into the world as this new innovative thing. It blew people's minds. Fastest adoption of a technology in the history of the world, right? All the stuff that was off the charts, and it wowed everybody. But it also had a different effect. We saw a growing list of companies back then that were in the middle of exploring AI solutions, that were somewhat down the road around evaluating technologies and even implementing solutions. And many of those companies pushed pause. They said, geez, this is a big new thing. We don't know what it means. We don't know how it's going to impact our business. Let's push pause for a moment, sort through all the noise, if you will, before we embark on a new direction around our AI strategy, especially as it relates to CX. I'm curious if you saw something similar, and maybe more importantly, as we fast forward, 5 months later, have many of the companies now gotten through that initial fog and confusion and kind of nervousness? Are you now seeing companies starting to realize, hey, this is real, it's practical for my business, it's something I can actually apply today, and I don't have to wait for kind of the answers to reveal themselves over the next 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, I can take that one. So on the answer is no. I feel like I'll say no because we haven't seen other than, and again, I'm obviously super biased, so we haven't seen fundamental innovation offerings. A lot of what so Level AI, for example, has done some fundamental innovation in the space. We launched a product, Agent GPT, which was very well received and so on. But a lot of what people are seeing, customers are seeing, are kind of things which are generally available, like for example, summarization is a feature which, again, in the contact center and customer service space, we have been doing that for 3 or 4 years. And now suddenly people are talking about that. So I feel like there's not enough education and messaging, which kind of what this webinar is about, which needs to go away and to be able to clarify what the use cases could be, what the opportunity could be for customers. Enough of that has not happened yet. Having said that, people continue to have questions. Some of them are being answered. We look forward to the opportunity of answering and educating that more. I also feel like, unfortunately, in our space, and AI has been a victim of that in the contact center specifically over the last decade. The marketing is much ahead of the product for a lot of companies. It annoys us to no end, because in our case, often the product is much ahead of the marketing. It annoys us to no end, but I won't take names, but the biggest CCaaS providers have put out things over the last 2 months, which are frankly can be done over a weekend by calling an OpenAI API, right? Level.ai, for example, uses no OpenAI APIs in our services. It's all custom built, it's all home built, and so on. So there's a lot of marketing, and it's not frankly answering the core questions in my view. Matt, I'm curious what you have to add.
Yeah. So Andrew, what I'd say is, so number one, I definitely hear that feedback. I also do see that if they're comfortable with the way the company approaches AI, that makes a difference. And what I mean by that is, when you talked, a year or so ago, or years, a lot of AI was just a black box, and an organization and the software company's ability to have both, like we do, unsupervised and supervised learning, have self-service functionality, being able to be transparent with the AI, that makes a huge difference, right? And that's one of the reasons why I chose personally to come over to Level AI, because I felt the transparency was there. And like Ashish said, it wasn't just a lot of marketing. And I think when you look at it, and AI is really, and this is paramount, like AI is not out there just to eliminate jobs. It's about what I said earlier. It's about having people work on the projects and the value that is actually a better service to the organization that they're working for or what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really important point, Matt. The idea of the human is still in the loop, right? How are we leveraging AI to better inform contact center agents or salespeople or whatever that might be? How do we customer support? How do we use AI to better inform those people, to make their jobs easier, for them to be able to find answers faster, and constantly improve, right? To iterate on kind of the job itself and what's working and what's not. And I mean, that's really the power of this. I think the difference that you draw there, Ashish, is really important between the underlying technology of large language models and that's the foundational technology. What OpenAI is doing with ChatGPT is simply one interpretation of how you leverage that technology, right? It's not the only one. And so this idea of powering a much more elevated level of customer service and support, right, with the power of large language models and the power of generative AI, but without the risks of it just going out into the wild web, as I put it, right? That's a huge advantage, and it's something that's really important for enterprise CX leaders to think about.
100%. You exactly put it. You put it exactly right. And Andrew, like the word we use, that's the foundational technology. So Stanford actually has a group. That's where Stanford has a group. They call it the foundational model group. And so LLMs it's called foundational models. They have 100 researchers. And these are underlying foundational models. It's kind of like the microprocessor architecture or anything which powers our phones, powers our iPads. Yeah. Microprocessors power everything from my Apple Watch to everything, But so it's one of, and ChatGPT is one niche. For customer service leaders, you must have seen some launch around summarization. That's one use case. Knowledge retrieval, that's a use case, and so on. We can talk about that, many different things.
Yeah. Well, let's pivot towards some of that right now, because Level AI, you started the company 4 years ago. You're when you first launched, you focused really on automating QA and QM, right? The idea of how do I instead of what traditional contact center leaders have always done is they'll sample maybe 2% of interactions. They'll have a team of people that are listening to recorded conversations, manually scoring those interactions, and then providing some coaching, to agents that are on those calls or supervisors. It's shocking to me how many companies still manage QA in the fashion I just described, right? Because what you immediately started to provide value around is asking the big question. Suppose for a moment that I could ingest 100% of those interactions, provide a large language model against those interactions, and then provide amazing insights back to the business, automating QA, automatically scoring 100% of interactions. Talk about that just for a moment, because that was the first iteration of how you were leveraging large language models to really change how contact centers were run.
100%, exactly right. And actually, funny enough, we were doing that even 4 years ago, even before OpenAI was popular and GPT was popular. And to Matt's point, we were doing it in such a way such that the AI is not a black box, but we are still seeing 50 to 100x improvement over the older technologies. And I think you and I have discussed this idea before. That often becomes in the customer service contact center transformation journey, the first step.
Yeah, right.
Like, because, once you have that data coming in and you can do a quick, you can dip your toes and do a quick pulse survey on the data on like, where are there gaps? If you start any journey to improve anything, if you have a beautiful pasta which kind of got destroyed by some other chef, you gotta taste it first to figure out where do I fix it. So you first figure out where do I fix it. That's the analytics and the QA, and you take in all that data, and then when you fix it, you go on to automate some parts of it through a bot. You want to improve the agent quality. You want to improve your learning and development programs, your knowledge. First step is data analytics, conversation analytics, and automating QA. Then you start on that journey. And the opportunity which we saw was why we started the company is that the legacy players, and we all know who they are just doing the automated QA also in the old way.
Yeah.
They're not using large language models. They have to rebuild the entire stack. It's the classic problem. Apple came about and put out a new iPhone, and Nokia had to reinvent everything else to be able to compete with them. We are not Apple, but we are, we are Apple-esque in the way that we are offering a new thing. So that's where we started, and now we have started to add capabilities for agent augmentation, like real-time agent assist, agent GPT, screen recording, things which are augmenting and sitting side by side with the humans in the contact center to make them more productive.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. That's powerful. It was once said that he who owns the data wins. If you've heard that, I would add to that though. He who actually owns actionable data wins. I mean, right? And that's really what you guys are leveraging there, Matt. That must have been a big attraction for you when you saw what Level AI was doing, how disruptive they were being in the world of QA and QM. You come from that space with Medallia. Agreed, great company. But if I can take this massive amount of data that's available to me, and frankly available to every single customer out there, if they can just know how to harness it, right, and capture it, but then turn that into actionable insights, that's where you get that force multiplier. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And yeah, and that's again one of the reasons why I'm here and then back in the space is because we're native SaaS solution, purpose built for this, and are able to integrate with the legacy, the next gen solutions. Having that data and bringing it all together, that's one thing. So that's good. We can digest it and ingest it and everything, but it's actually like normalizing the data and helping it speak one language so you can actually make sense by tying into the metadata, bringing it all in one place, and then it's digestible too, because it's really tough. Like, organizations, depending on their size, like, will tell you how many like data scientists they have. Some are lean and mean, and some are like very heavily invested in that. What I saw is that you're able to still get very good actionable insights pre-data data scientists, and then as on gravy on top, icing on top of the cake, we could actually even package that data up, give it to that organization. It's their data in a digestible, way. And then they could give it to your data scientists and go really next level deep on what their customers are telling them.
It feels to me, guys, that this kind of underlying technology is quickly becoming table stakes for any forward-thinking CX leader. If you're if you're not embracing the kinds of solutions that Level AI are bringing to market, you're falling behind quickly. I mean, there's some urgency around this, it feels to me.
100%. And like, think of it, Andrew, like you're a veteran in the space. All of us learn from you. I'm not, but like, think of it like if you're running a large BPO, right? Right from 50 seats to 5,000 seats to 50,000 seats, whatever you are. Yep. You have, let's say, 500 humans working for you. The first question you have to ask is, how are they doing? Are they serving my customers well? Yeah. Right? And then what are they learning from my customers? Those are two fundamental questions, right? And we are on those two, like on our customer intelligence solution and our QM solution, how are they doing and what are they learning from our customers so that I can make more money and I can service my customers well and I can build long-term relationships with the customers is the foundational first step, you know?
Yeah.
And you got to do it. Like, I feel like it's amazing. We were talking to a large telecom company and with a massive workforce, multi-billion dollars in revenue, and they don't have a basic customer intelligence and QA program in place. It's kind of meat and potatoes. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very common, and surprisingly common, and an opportunity for so much improvement there. Guys, in just last closing minutes here, I wanted to get your sense, Ashish, of where this goes next, right? You guys started with QA and QM. Now you're doing a ton around augmenting the agent's capabilities with real-time agent assist and screen recording and so forth. There's some great capabilities that you have around that as well. What's next? Like, what's next for Level AI? What do you think is next for this broader category of AI in the world of customer support?
Yeah, I'll leave you with a few thoughts here, Andrew. And this is my simple framework in understanding. So what's next would be that we will, like, if you think of the contact, there's an ocean of data, right? There's an ocean or ocean. What these technologies are doing is for us to look deeper and deeper into that ocean. You know, when you have a radar, it looks skin deep and more. You can look deeper and deeper. And number one, number two, and that's the identification part. The second part is synthesis, which is the generative AI part. Then you can synthesize more and more. What did you learn? And the synthesis of it. For some synthesis would be actionable insights. Some synthesis would be agent augmentation with agent GPT. And the third point is acting. So identify, synthesize, act. The third point would be acting, where, okay, I got it in real time. I got this notification. Can I take an action on it? Can I improve my customer experience in the moment? And I feel like on all of those three dimensions, identification, synthesis, and act, we are entering a 10x moment. There will be 10x changes over the next 2 years on all three of those. The action part is more, webhooks and having one integrated platform, us being able to push the insights from all this data in real time. But the identification and synthesis part of it will change 10x. I'll give you a simple example. When I was in Alexa, this was 2018. It's not so long ago. An AI engine could understand a few sentences in one go, right?
Yeah.
And now AI engines can understand about 30,000 tokens, they call it. Equal, like you can approximate it as words. 30,000 words. 30,000 words is a small book.
Yeah.
In one go, it can understand 30,000 words, wow. As opposed to the 2 sentences you talk to Alexa about. So imagine you are now able to go 30,000 token deep in one go. So deeper, synthesis, and action, And I think the problems remain the same. It's just that now that we are able to do so much on all of those three things.
Yeah.
And we'll do more,
It's fascinating. It's an exciting future. One other closing point that I think is helpful for people to understand, the type of innovations that are happening here are not just reserved for the large enterprise that has deep pockets, that has big teams. This is becoming very accessible even down to the small business. The 20, 30, 50 seat contact center can get tremendous value out of this still, right? And frankly, if you're a 20 or 30 person contact center today and you have any aspiration of growing that business, right? In yesteryear, you would have looked at what does this look like when we're at 100 or 200 seats a couple of years from now. This allows for you to scale so much faster without necessarily having to add exponentially more bodies. And the accessibility of this kind of technology for the small medium business is really compelling. Matt, what are your thoughts on that?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's scaling through tech rather than people. It's not about cutting heads. It's about growing without having to add as many heads. And again, it's the focus and the business value of the work that they can do versus these redundant tasks that so many have to deal with. And frankly, they don't want to do it. The company doesn't want to do it. So that's why the technology in many different areas is going to be a big part of this evolution.
Yeah, no question. Well, guys, that's a great way to close this. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Always do. Ashish, thank you for allowing us to crawl inside your giant brain for just a few minutes. And Matt, welcome to the ecosystem, man. It's great to have you guys here. We're big fans of Level AI. I would say for those listening and those listening down the road on a recorded session of this, check these guys out. Start to ask the hard questions about what you're doing to leverage, not just get access to data, but actionable data. That's such an important part about how you're going to scale your CX strategy down the road. We're here to help, and Level AI is as well. Good to see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.